If you like what you're about to hear, please consider leaving a review, or liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing on YouTube. I don't have a Patreon or enable ads for this, so if you really like Oldex, please do contact Games Workshop on social media or via email and tell them you want me to narrate their audiobooks for realsies. Oldex, Codex Chaos Space Marines, 4th edition. Pages 28 to 33. Forces of Chaos. The Law. Part 2. Written by Thorpe and Alessio Cavatore. Narrated by R.J. Bailey. With great thanks to Alistair for donating this copy of Codex Chaos Space Marines. Chaos Terminators. Many veteran Chaos Space Marines enter battle wearing the revered and rightly feared tactical dreadnought armor, or Terminator armor, as it is more commonly known. The armor is massively bulky and contains a full artificial skeleton of fiber bundles and adamantium rods to support the heavy-gauge plasteel and ceramite plates that form the outer carapace. The Terminator can move and operate with remarkable freedom and agility considering the sheer mass of the actual armor, which provides as much protection as an armored tank hull. A Chaos Space Marine in Terminator armor usually holds a ranged weapon, typically a combi weapon of some type, and a chain axe, shock mace, power claw, or other powerful close combat weapon. This combination of devastating anti-personnel firepower and close-quarters punch certainly makes a Chaos Space Marine Terminator a rightly feared opponent. Some Chaos Space Marines Terminators carry heavier and more powerful weapons to provide supporting fire for their comrades, such as the double-barreled Reaper autocannon and the terrifying Heavy Flamer. Others prefer to enhance their abilities in close combat and wield a pair of lightning claws with which to carve up the enemy or wear a chain fist for cutting through armored vehicles and bulkheads. Chaos Space Marine Terminators are not the swiftest of troops when it comes to reaching the enemy battle line. To counter this, they often use a Land Raider as a transport vehicle. Alternatively, they can be teleported into battle, either through arcane technology or sorcerer's power. This allows the Terminators to arrive in the midst of the foe. Chaos Terminators stand in great favor with their leader. Many of them are aspiring champions who have left their brethren to elevate themselves in the eyes of the ruinous powers. So scarce is Terminator armor that sometimes an aspiring champion can only claim a suit for himself by killing the current wearer, whether in ritual combat or by more devious means. Chaos Terminators often act as the personal guard of an esteemed champion. Within the warband, they enforce the will of their leader and take the pick of the spoils of victory. They tend to be egotistical, brutish men who use their physical prowess and the champion's favor to intimidate other members of the warband. Far from resenting such behavior, most Chaos Space Marines simply plot to bring about the day when they can abuse such power for themselves. Carnage at Corellia. During the Gothic War, Abaddon sent a fleet to attack the hive world of Corellia in the Quinrox Sound. Under the command of Vastakel Kaya, 50 Terminator-armored Black Legionnaires teleported from orbit into Patricius Hive, the seat of the Imperial commander. Meanwhile, other forces descended in drop pods to surround the capital and seal it off from the rest of the world. Corellian defense forces were rushed to the capital, but it was 3 days before they could gain entry, thousands of them having died at the hands of the Black Legion as the Imperial army attempted to break through their cordon. The inside of the hive was a charnel house. Thousands had been slaughtered by Kaya's Terminators. More, including the Imperial commander, were captured, and their fate, perhaps for the better, remains unknown. Possessed Space Marines. For some Chaos Space Marines, Simply dedicating their souls to the gods is not enough. Pledging themselves fully to the service of chaos, they allow demons to possess their bodies, becoming willing hosts to these immaterial creatures. Such possession is usually agonizing, as the demons writhe within their new physical form, changing it to better suit their needs. In the most fanatical warbands, such as the Word-Bearers, Brothers of Levos, and Fire Reavers, possessed are seen as superior to normal Chaos Space Marines. Those offering themselves up for possession spend months in rituals of maculation and debasement, offering up sacrifices and preparing their bodies for the demonic entity that is to use them as a host for its energy. These mass possessions are events of great celebration, marked by some with orgiastic feasting and depravity, or with solemn, droning hymnals of impurity by others. Possessed Chaos Space Marines are easily distinguished by their grotesque features and mutated bodies. They might have vicious claws, outlandishly warped muscles, waving tentacles, disfigured faces, whipping tails, spines, antlers, and all manner of other physical abnormalities. Many have vicious talons, razor-sharp horns, or huge fangs that they can use to rip through enemy armor and even gouge through the side of a tank. The demon within a possessed gives him great speed, strength, and resilience, and it is for this reason that the possessed are so willing to undergo such traumatic transformations. However, the life of a possessed can be horribly short, as those unable to contain the demonic essence within their bodies eventually mutate beyond all recognition and are consumed from within by the dark fire of chaos. Possessed Marines have other uses apart from being able to tear apart enemies with their bare hands. The inhuman senses of the demon trapped within the body of a possessed allow a Chaos Marine to latch on to the warp presence of other creatures. This makes them superb trackers and scouts, able to unerringly locate enemy positions and hunt down potential victims without being seen. Aboard the fleets of the Chaos Space Marines, the demonic nature of the possessed is used by sorcerers to aid navigation of the warp. Chaos Lord. The Chaos Gods care nothing for the petty hierarchies and ranks of mortals, and bestow their gifts and punishments according to their own unfathomable laws. Chaos Space Marines owe their loyalty not to men of ascribed rank or function, but to those who are powerful, charismatic, strong of will, and who evidence the support of the Chaos Gods. The most favored servants of the Dark Gods are the champions of chaos, who dedicate their utter being to ambition and the increasing of the gods' power. The greatest chaos champions are the Chaos Lords, men with the incredible vision and strength to bind the forces of chaos to their will. Chaos Lords are supreme warriors, having fought and led men in battle for hundreds of years. The Chaos Lord's undying devotion is rewarded by numerous gifts of power, unholy artifacts, and physical mutation. A Chaos Lord might be the commander of a piratical fleet, the master of a renegade chapter, a tyrannical overlord of a fortified world, or simply the leader of an army of fanatical Chaos Space Marines. Some Chaos Lords are devious and cunning manipulators. Some lead through brute strength and tyranny. Some are egotistical maniacs bent on personal aggrandizement, while others have a twisted spirituality and a zealous dedication to the worship of their dark gods. Champions of Khorne. Champions of the Blood God are savage fighters who lust after the spilling of blood and the roar of battle. They are formidable warriors, well versed in all weaponcraft, who glory in destroying their enemies in hand-to-hand fighting, and are possessed of a blood greed that only the most horrendous acts of carnage can sate. Champions of Tzeentch. The champions of the Changer of Ways are gifted with the arcane knowledge and sorcerous power of Tzeentch. With these, a champion of Tzeentch weaves protective wards about himself, prophesies the future, and foretells the enemy's intent. Champions of Tzeentch may be little more than pieces in the eternal, convoluted game that Tzeentch plays with all mortals. But those pieces that prove useful are well protected, so that they can be used again in the future. Champions of Nurgle. Champions of Nurgle, the Lord of Decay, are swollen with corruption, their armor barely containing their bloated bodies. Their bodies are dulled with disease and partly rotted away, meaning that champions of Nurgle feel little pain and can endure incredible injury without discomfort. Champions of Slaanesh. Slaanesh is the Prince of Pleasure, and his champions exist on the outermost edge of excitement and experience, reveling in the joy of life and death found in battle. They take a perverse pleasure in all experience, no matter how terrifying or bizarre. Constantly seeking new stimulation and diversion, a champion of Slaanesh has touch, sight, and hearing beyond even the boosted levels of a space marine. Their minds react so fast that they fight with blurring speed and dexterity.
I murdered thousands for the Emperor, and he gave me nothing except his damning silence. Now his lip digs yep for every life I take, where the gods promise me the galaxy.
Svein Wulfbad. Sorcerer of Chaos. A space marine librarian who pledges his soul to chaos becomes a sorcerer and is gifted by his new gods. It is appropriate to think of these gifts as magical, for those who receive them come to think of themselves as having the energy of the universe at their command. The first Chaos Space Marine sorcerers come from the Thousand Suns Legion. Even before the heresy, the Thousand Suns became involved with arcane lore and the practice of sorcery, and once the heresy began, they had little choice but to ally with Horus. They continue their study of magic under the guidance of their Primarch, Magnus the Red, and are considered the most accomplished of all sorcerers. Some, though, have since been exiled from the Legion by Magnus. These dispossessed sorcerers lend their skills to other champions in return for sacrifices and the chance to hunt down hidden lore and recover ancient artifacts. During the heresy, librarians in other legions dedicated themselves to chaos and received new psychic powers. The only exception were the librarians of the World Eaters, who were hunted down and slain by their brethren as a bloody sacrifice to Khorne, for the chaos god of anger hates all practitioners of sorcery. Not only during the Horus heresy have librarians been tempted to draw upon sorcery. For those who already tread a fine line between righteous power and damnation, the temptation to wield the energy of chaos for selfish means can be overwhelming. Although Space Marine librarians are tested for the mental fortitude to withstand demonic possession and the laws of the dark gods, and are constantly monitored by the chapter, there are those who still succumb. The line between psychic power and raw sorcery is blurred, and every time a librarian uses his powers, he is risking corruption. He may overreach his abilities, unwittingly drawing on more power than he can control, and by these means attract the attention of the Chaos Gods. From that moment, he must endure cold whispers in his dreams, visions of immortality, and promises of untold power. Most Chaos sorcerers are esoteric, selfish madmen. The vistas of possibilities opened to their minds are beyond mortal comprehension, and once they have glimpsed these unachievable realms, Chaos sorcerers are forever driven to expand their power and knowledge to an impossible level. Demonic Pacts. Psychic power derived from the warp can be immensely powerful, but the greatest conjurations can only be achieved with demonic energy. A sorcerer who makes a demonic pact bargains some service or favor with a demon in exchange for a portion of that demon's own essence. With this conduit, the sorcerer can tap directly into the warp and unleash staggering amounts of psychic energy, in the same way that demons sustain themselves on the material plane. The grandest sorcerers have dozens of demonic pacts to power their spells, and by these means can achieve seemingly impossible feats of destruction, prophecy, and protection. However, as with all such pacts, eventually a price must be paid. Demon Prince. The ultimate ambition for all champions of chaos is to achieve demonhood. For centuries, a Chaos Lord risks death and mutation, slaying the enemies of his master in the hope of attracting the gaze of the gods. The most dedicated Chaos champions have sacrificed entire armies and slaughtered the populations of dozens of worlds in order to achieve recognition in the eyes of the gods, and, ultimately, earn themselves immortality. The demon princes are those who had, as mortals, the strength and will to please the chaos gods over a lifetime of war. Though most fall upon the path, there are always those willing to risk everything for such rewards. The demon princes who lead warbands of chaos space marines were once space marines themselves. They are great chaos lords and sorcerers, still clad in the twisted remnants of their armor, still driven on by their hatred of the Imperium. Though their appearance can vary greatly, some have wings and horns, others great fangs or spiraling tusks. All demon princes are immense in stature and tower above even space marines. Made of demonic energy, they have a strength and resilience far beyond mortal creatures, and exhibit many strange and devastating powers, such as the ability to breathe fire or hurl bolts of lightning. The most infamous demon princes come from amongst those Primarchs who sided with Chaos during the Horus Heresy. These are those Primarchs who turned on the Emperor and led their legions into damnation. Yet for all of the Imperium's hatred leveled at them by the Inquisition, the demon Primarchs Angron, Magnus, Mortarion, and Fulgrim are content to wage wars against their enemies within the Eye of Terror. It is almost unheard of for them to lead forth their warriors from their demon worlds, preferring to leave such petty tasks to favor-seeking, fanatical underlings. Although the demon Primarchs are perhaps the most infamous and abhorred demon princes, there are a few who are older and even more powerful. There are demon princes who bartered their souls to chaos long before humankind left Earth, brutal dictators and bloodthirsty warriors who gained power as mighty civilizations rose and fell throughout humanity's war-torn, tortured history. Demon princes often lead Chaos Space Marine warbands, lending their unnatural might to the cause. Some demon princes ally themselves with Chaos champions, lending their patronage to followers of Chaos as the whims and commands of their gods dictate. Doombreed. Khorne was the first of the great gods of Chaos to awake fully, and Doombreed was one of the first of his servants. His true name has long been forgotten, but he was once human, a mighty warlord who led armies that ravaged entire nations on Earth long, long ago. His acts of genocide and murder pleased the young god Khorne, who rewarded him and made him one of his first demon princes. Since then, Doombreed has continued to serve Khorne well. Over the millennia, Doombreed has returned to slaughter the warriors of humanity countless times, his presence always inspiring bloodshed and war on an apocalyptic scale. Doombreed fought for his bloody master at the side of War Master Horus during the heresy, and was aboard the War Master's battle barge when the Emperor attacked and Horus was slain. Of Doombreed's subsequent wars, there is no record. Chaos Spawn. The Chaos Gods are generous but irresponsible with their favors. They either cannot distinguish the difference in value of their manifold gifts, or simply have no interest in the matter. When blessing one of his followers, a Chaos God might make him or her stronger, tougher, faster, astonishingly attractive, hyper-intelligent, or otherwise improve their lot in this world. But equally, the Chaos God may feel their loyal subject would benefit from having their toes fall off, their mind constantly dazzled with whirling colors, a third eye in their navel, or to be a dribbling imbecilic lump of flesh. It's all the same thing to a Chaos God. A god might grant a fabulous weapon or magnificent steed to their favored champion, or give them some insight into the nature of the universe, or bestow a sorcerer with magical energy. However, most gifts of chaos take the form of some physical mutation. The more of these gifts a chaos champion receives, the more potentially disastrous their cumulative effects can be. Extreme mutations tend to affect the recipient in all kinds of unfortunate ways. Even the engineered body of a Chaos Space Marine can only withstand so many mutations before he passes the point of no return and devolves into a Chaos Spawn. Any champion of Chaos can find himself heading on the road to spawn them. Even a Chaos champion who enjoys the favor of his god may suffer this fate, while those that continue to fail in their tasks may well avoid spawndom for many centuries. A champion who does not earn himself the ultimate reward of demonic immortality will certainly become a spawn unless he dies by some other means first. Such is the lot of the Chaos Champion. He is destined for everlasting diabolic glory or an ignominious end as a mindless, slavering heap of twisted limbs and quivering protrusions. The outward appearance of a Chaos Spawn is utterly unpredictable. No two are exactly alike, and their makeup owes as much to the random whims of the gods as it does physical suitability. A spawn may have several sets of limbs, bizarre attributes like crab claws, a chitinous carapace, tattered and useless wings, clumps of eye stalks that wave like grass in a wind, a sinewy prehensile neck, or a gaping maw of needle-thin teeth. Some spawn have insectoid bodies or heads. Others resemble featureless quivering mounds of muscle covered with dozens of spines that drip with acidic pus. A spawn's skin might be blistered with weeping sores or covered in steel scales. Its flesh can be torn with open wounds or shrieking mouths, or nests of serpents might erupt constantly from its warped form. Although physically powerful and extremely resilient, Chaos Spawn are insane mewling creatures with no mental powers or self-awareness. Their former intelligence has been sacrificed to their failed ambition. Many a champion of great promise has ended up as a seething mound of bone and blubber, monstrous and screaming with lunatic rage. Foul Spawn. Foul Spawn was one of the most diseased and disgusting of all Nurgle's champions. It is said that the sight of him was so horrifying that hardened warriors who saw him gagged and retched in disgust. Nurgle was deeply fond of his unsightly champion, and eventually blessed him with spawndom. While most Chaos Spawn die within hours of their transformation, Such was not the fate of Foulspawn. He not only survived, he grew and prospered. By some strange quirk of will and fate, or equally strange whim of Nurgle, Foulspawn survives by absorbing the fleshy tissues and bodily fluids of living creatures, which he achieves by grabbing his prey with his sticky, toad-like tongue and then swallowing the living creature whole. You have been listening to Oldex, Codex Chaos Space Marines, 4th edition, pages 28 to 33, Forces of Chaos, The Law, Part 2, written by Gav Thorpe and Alessio Cavatore, narrated by R.J. Bailey. With great thanks to Alistair for donating this copy of Codex Chaos Space Marines. Thank you to Gav Thorpe and Alessio Cavatore for writing the fiction I grew up with. If you've enjoyed this, please leave a review where you found it, or like, share, and subscribe on YouTube, depending how you're listening. I don't have a Patreon or enable ads for this, so if you really like Oldex, please do contact Games Workshop on social media or via email and tell them you want me to narrate their audiobooks for realsies. This production, like all of Oldex, is entirely unofficial and uncommercial. From an out-of-print publication, is a derivative work with all copyrights owned by Games Workshop, and is a celebration of the hobby and lore I grew up with. If you have suggestions for other old Codex fiction for me to narrate on this podcast, you can comment, contact me on Twitter at rjbailey, or email robertjbailey@gmail.com. Links are in the show description.